as I previously mentioned, we're going to spend a lot of time decompressing the wrists since this course has a lot of ground-based work. So to get started, we're going to start what we like to call paint the fence. So I'm going to imagine that I have a flat plane from my wrist to my fingers. If you have a hard time isolating this, you can just create fist here. But I like to keep my hands flat so that I can really open up this range. So I'm going to pull my shoulders down and back, start in my nice tall structure. I'm going to bend from my wrist only, and I'm going to keep my arms as straight as I can. I'm going to paint the fence up. Once I reach the apex where I'm starting to feel a lot of tension that I can't push through, I'm going to bend and come back. Notice I'm not bending my fingers at all. I'm keeping my shoulders packed, only going to where my mobility allows me to. You can use your breath. Once as your fingers start to bend, that's when you have a slack in your system. So try to create as much tension as you can. Remember, you can always use fists for this. Here's how that would look like. Next, we're going to do lateral glides. For this motion, you can keep your arms open or hit fists. But I find that this is very difficult for a lot of us since we're not used to moving laterally. So I'm going to keep fists for this. My arms are going to be out, locked, and I'm going to keep my shoulders packed. Now I'm just imagining that I'm gliding with my wrist. This might be a range where a lot of us are extremely restricted, being that a lot of us spend a lot of time on the computer, which can be detrimental to our wrist health. So utilizing all of these is going to be great even to use at your desk. And it's a good reason to take a little break from your work. Trying to keep a flat plane here. My wrists tend to come up, which is fine, but really fight to open up and keep that structure where it's needed. Next, we're going to go into Shakas. These are a very great movement for releasing all of the connective tissue in your arms. As a note, think about trying to create tension here. So I'm trying to create tension, lengthening from my pinky to my thumb. First, I'm going to do sagittal Shakas, which means I'm just going to move forward in this motion. So I'm keeping my elbows in, keeping this tension here, and shaking them out. Next, we're going to do the same thing. Only difference is that my elbows are going to be pointed out to the side. I, in particular, feel a lot of tension in this range, all throughout my forearm, up into my triceps. Let's get started. Remember, I'm trying to lengthen, create tension through my hands. So I'm not trying to have slacked or limp wrist here. Shoulders are trying to stay packed. Trying not to let them pike up to my ears. May look funky, but if you do it right, you'll feel a lot of tension being released here. Next, we have wrist waves. A lot of us may be more familiar with this motion. I'm going to interlace my fingers, shoulders down. I'm going to lift my wrist up and let the other one follow. Oof. Be more dynamic with it. Really thinking about pressing into that bottom portion as well. You can reverse it. Reversing is a little tricky, but it's definitely worth giving it a try. Next, we're going to go into our prayer pose. So for our prayer pose, I'm going to pull my shoulders down and back. I'm going to press into my hands. It's a great motion to just hold. A lot of us tend to let our palms come apart. Try to press your wrists into each other as much as you can. And then from here, you can even rotate. Notice I'm not trying to move my shoulders or my elbows. I'm trying to stay in place. I'm only rotating through my forearm. And for the next one, this is your wrist relief, or as I like to call it, your wrist decompression. Means the same thing. So I'm going to pull my shoulders down and back. I'm going to try to get the back of my palms to touch each other as much as I can here. We're just going to hold this. In between your exercises, if at any point you have wrist discomfort, just use this position for about 30 seconds and this should give you an adequate amount of release. And for our last exercise, we have finger fans. So for the finger fans, I'm going to start from my pinkies. So I'm going to keep my elbows tight to my body. I'm going to go pinky, forefinger, middle, index, and thumb. Now I'm going to close for my pinky as well, much as I can. Pinky, forefinger, middle, index, and thumb. Now I'm going to open up for my thumb. Thumb, index, middle, forefinger, and pinky. Closing from the thumb. It's a little silly, but an easy mnemonic device to remember this is ice cream is okay. I'll show you what that means. So if I start opening from my pinkies and I close from my pinkies, kind of looks like an ice cream cone. I'm holding an ice cream cone. So ice cream, now from the thumbs, closing from the thumbs is okay. So for all those fitness freaks, it's okay to have ice cream once in a while. Deprivation is not the key. Everything in moderation. And you gotta treat yourself too. Smoothing it out, getting that rotation in my forearms as well. So remember, ice cream is okay.